We are going to be working on measurement. And so when we have been measuring, we've been looking at our rulers. We know that there's a bunch of little tick marks on our ruler, and they all stand for different parts of an inch. So from the 1 to the 2, that is 1 inch. So this whole area, this is 1 inch. And our inches are noted by the whole number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. In our whole inch, it is broken down into 4 sections. So you can see that I have one section right here, my second section right there, my third, and my fourth. So I have 4 sections of my inch, and my first section is my 1/4 because this is 4 parts and this is the first out of 4 parts. And I know it's the 4th when I get to the first little line, so I kind of colored over it, but there it is. The second one, which it's kind of a longer line, it looks like that. It's 2 parts out of, my 4, or it is halfway there. So you could either call it 2/4, my second section, or 1/2. So if something measures up to that middle line, the longer one, you can see it right there, it's 2/4 of an inch or 1/2. My third section right here, that is my third out of 4 sections. So I call that my 3/4 because I have to color in 1, 2, 3 parts before I get to my inch. And then after my 3/4, this blue section, that goes back to my whole inch. So this is what, and each inch is broken into the same thing. You see the 1/4 line right there, the 1/2 or 2/4, and the 3/4. Now what's important to note is the whole numbers. So really, our ruler starts at 0. Here's our 0. And so this first mark will be 1/2. 1/4. I don't know where any eraser, there we go. It'll be 1/4 because there's 4 parts. This will be 1/2 or 2/4. And then I have 3/4, my third line. And then my 4/4, my fourth part, is that whole inch. So that's where my 1 is. Now, in front of each one of these numbers, in between my 1 and my 2 inches, right there, it would be 1 and 1/4, 1 and 1/2, or 1 and 1 and 2/4, and 1 and 3/4. When I go after the 2, it'll be a big 2, 1/4. A big 2, 2/4. And a big 2, 3/4. There we go. So be sure you look back to that inch to figure out what your big number is. So if I'm looking at this line right here, I'm going to look back. What's my inch? It's my 2 inches, and my line tells me it's 2 and 2/4, or 2 and 1/2. Sorry. And so that is how I can read my ruler. So here's a little breakdown of your ruler, and your packet has it marked on there as well, so you can use that. But sometimes it helps to see it a little color-coded like that. So now I'm going to measure each of these lines. And so I'm going to pick my ruler up, and when I measure, I need to start at my 0. So pretend that right here, this line is 0, okay? Some rulers will have a 0 and some won't. If your ruler doesn't have a 0, line it up with the beginning of the line. My 0 didn't follow us. So if I am lining this line up, all right there, you see that my 0 lines up perfectly at the beginning of that line. And then here's my 1 inch, and then there's my 2 inch. It kind of got cut off. So it's more than 1 inch, it's more than 2 inches, but it's not yet to the 3 inches. So I know my big number is 2, and then I have to go, okay, that's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So this line measures 2 and 3/4 inches. Now make sure that you put the unit. This is an inches ruler. We're measuring in inches. My unit needs to be there. Now I'm going to drag my ruler down here so that we can measure this line. So again, you will see that my 0 is lined up at the beginning of my line or my ruler is lined up at the beginning of my line because there is not a 0. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, okay, so it's right past the 6. It's not yet to the 7. So it's 6 inches, and then let me line that up. Oh, okay, 6 and 1/4 because it goes to the first line out after the whole number. And then lastly, here's just another way to see it. This ruler has a 0 on it. So you can see that they lined everything up with the 0. And then I'm going to see oops, that was not a straight line, what line this goes to. Alrighty, it is super close, so I am just going to round up a little bit, and I'm going to say that this line is 11, and I got to use my unit, 11 inches long. So you can see how they started it up at the 0, and then we drew a line at the end to see where it goes. Now you could have said that it was 10 3/4 because it's kind of in the middle there, so it's up to you. So sometimes our ruler won't have a 0 on it. You see no 0. So I have to line it up at the beginning of the ruler with my line. And sometimes my ruler will have a 0, so I line whatever I'm measuring up with the 0. Now you have a measuring worksheet to do. You can either cut out the ruler that goes with it, or you can use your own ruler at home. Just mark on the paper whether or not you used the ruler on the paper or you used your own ruler. So if things are off a little bit when we look at it, we'll know why. So go ahead and measure, rewatch this video if you need the help, and you've got this.